Hey guys, shooting for fun here. Hey, today the little gun we're going to be showing you here is our Star BM model. This is a gun that's made in Spain. It's an import. Um, it's along the same lines as the Zastavas, the Tokharovs, your Makarovs, some of your earlier CZs, and your Nagant pistols and your Mosin Nagant rifles, things like that. It is a surplus import gun. Unlike the Zastava, the M57, it's a 7.62 by 25 millimeter. This guy is a 9 millimeter. So the ammo is, readily available. It's much cheaper than the 7.62. The 7.62 is harder to find. It's not as readily available as your standard 9 millimeter. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we take down this guy. It is a kind of a 1911 style. It is a slimmer style gun. Single action. Got the hammer on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop our mag out. It is an 8-round single stack mag. Check our chamber, make sure we're clear. And if you notice, it does come with the standard of these comes with a mag safety, which would not allow me to drop the hammer with the magazine out. For the ease of being able to clean and use this thing, I did remove that safety so that now you can drop the mag. Drop the hammer without having the mag in there. Now that is kind of bypassing a safety feature, because if you have a round in there and you drop that hammer, it could go off even without the mag in there. Okay. So when you take that little mag safety out there, you do want to be careful with this thing. Now, when you put this in, there's a little stop there, and see how there's a little piece there where this is, where you have to push it up in there to get it to snap. You do want to be careful. I don't know if you can see that right there on my hand. I do have a little pinch spot there where I got a little mag bite there, where where you hold your hand down in the way and you hit the magazine there and it pinches your hand. So you do want to be careful with that. And we want to make sure that we are clear. Okay. Now to take this thing apart, it's really pretty simple. It does have a couple extra little things there that's a little bit different from like your Glocks and your Smith & Wessons. The way this breaks down is you've got a little notch. This is where your manual safety is here. You've got another little notch right here. And what you do is you slide this back and you push that safety up to where it engages that notch and it holds your slide back. Okay, it's not the same notch that your slide release would go into. It's a different slot cut out there. And I don't know if we're going to try to get it in there, see if you can see that up close there. Okay. Now once that's done, this little slide release, here's where it comes through. You just push it on this end, push it with your finger, and that little slide release will come out. When that does, when you release this slide, it'll just come right off of there. Okay. So now you've got your frame part, and this is an all steel frame. It is a little heavier of a gun. It weighs about a little over, just over 2 pounds. Like I said, with that hammer safety or magazine safety off of there, it does allow you to operate the hammer. Okay. So then you have your recoil spring. Now you've got a little piece right here, if you can see that. there's a little hole right there that's a piece, and you can see where that pops down and pops back out. I'm hoping you can see that. Okay. You take that down. You pull your tube out. I mean your spring, right? Pull that spring out. Now to get the barrel out, the barrel has to come through the front. Unlike most of your regular ones, they just pull up and lift out. So you've got a little barrel ring here. If you notice, we just slid that over, and then it just lifts out. And then you lift up on your barrel because it does fit inside of a notch there. And then your barrel will just pull forward straight out. Okay? So there we have it. There's our slide, barrel, recoil spring, and then we got a barrel retaining ring there on the front. Now, what I like to do is I'll usually start with the barrel. And we'll take some of our rim oil spray, and I'll spray down in there. And then what I use, a lot of people like using the rod and stuff, but I don't like using that so much because it can scar the barrel and things like that. What I use are our little bore snakes here. If you notice, this one's got 3 rings, if you can see them there, 3 rings of little brass wire pieces there, so it does give it the brass brush effect, and then the rest of it goes through and actually cleans it off just like your regular paper wads would. So we're going to run that down through our barrel, and it just pulls through. And then I usually just run it through a couple times there. Just to make sure that we get a good clean pull through our barrel there. Okay. Then what I do is I'll take a rag, and usually if you use like a polyester knit blend shirt, this is a part of an old shirt that I had, I just cut out a section of it, and the reason why I use that, or cotton or something like that, is because it doesn't leave any fibers. It's all smooth, there's no fibers, that's going to be left in there, no residue. Okay. And we wipe our slide out real good, and we'll wipe off our spring and things like that. Okay. Then we can take the barrel part, and you can actually, what I do is I run, you gotta have a rag that's small enough to where you can do this. And what I'll do is I'll usually take a let me get one here, ink pen. And I'll push that through. And usually I'll just pull that through, and it cleans out your magazine area there. Okay. Then what I do is I'll take my little rim oil and the little dispenser here. I'll put some on the little cotton swab here. And like I said, you can start with anything. Usually what I do is I'll run through the I'll grease the barrel part here. That's where that little ring goes through. The end of the barrel there, around the end of the barrel. Okay. Then we'll take our slide. We'll go down into our slide here. And like I said, you don't have to gob this stuff in. You just want to Good little layer. Now you may want to go a little heavier, like if you were going to store it for a while. But I readily shoot my guns, and I clean them after every shoot, so I usually don't put a whole lot on there. And you just go over the whole part of the slide really good. Okay, and then I'll go over the slide here. Like I said, you can pull your hammer back and get down in there. And I make sure that that slide rail is done pretty good, because that's where all your friction and your wear is going to be done. Okay. Now once you get that done, and I will put a little bit on just around here just so it gets a good smooth going there. So now you've got everything all cleaned up and you're ready to go back together. So we'll put our barrel back in, which it goes right up through the front there. You put your spring, you can move that pillar up. Now to do your spring, if you notice here, your spring will kind of just fall through there. So you have to put your barrel retention back in here. Your barrel. There you go. That just locks back in there. Now you're able to put your recoil spring back in. And if you notice, there's a little U-notch here where it's kind of keyed there to where it can go down. That part goes down toward the barrel. And that goes in just like that. Now when you go to put this back in, you do want to make sure that that loop is pushed up against your recoil guide rod there, because that's where this piece is going to go through to help hold that barrel in. Okay. Then we're going to make sure you get that straight or it won't line up there. Okay, we're going to pull our slide back, catch it. Now this part's a little tricky there. You do have to maybe jiggle the barrel a little bit there to there we go. Jiggle it and make sure that that goes back in there. And when it does, you can release it. And we're good to go. Okay. Now normally what I do is I'll lock this back. Now notice I didn't use this one. I used the actual mag safety release here. This is where the mag or slide release actually catches in. Okay. So while that's pulled back, then I get my guide rod here a little bit. Make sure it's lubed up a little bit there. Okay. Then you got your slide release. And then we're good to go. Okay. So this is our Star BM, Spanish made. This gun was actually made. See the mark there. It's a 77, so this gun was made in 1977. So it is a 42-year-old gun. Like I said, it's all steel. Got the steel frame, steel slide, steel barrel. So these imports, they got different classifications. They go from good to very good to excellent condition, things like this. And some gun stores, they actually charge you a little more for what they call a hand select, which means they'll open up 5 or 6 different boxes of these things, and they'll pick you out the better. If you order them online or whatever, they'll pick you out the better of the lot there. So you pay, you know, maybe an extra $20 to have them do that for you. Okay. And what I did was, it did have, I actually got to pick this one out. I had 6 different ones that I looked at, and this was the better of the lot there. And it did have a little reddish tint to it there, where it had a little bit of, not, you know, actual rust there, but you could see where it was starting to tone a little bit with the rust colored. And what I did was I took a little polishing wheel on a Dremel. You don't want to put a grinding wheel because you don't want to grind your metal, but you just want to take off a little bit of that surface rust there to get down to the metal there. And then I used a it's called a super blue or perma blue, whichever one you can get there. They sell them at your gun stores or Walmart. You know, you can pick it up just about any gun store, anywhere that sells gun equipment, ammo. And I polished it down a little bit, and I re-blued it there with that. And I touched up some spots along there. So all in all, it doesn't look too bad for, you know, a 42-year-old gun. And it does shoot quite well. We took it to the range there. We got a video on it. And we did it before we ever took it down and cleaned it and everything, and it worked really well. Okay. Now the mags, we're going to show you how we take down and clean our mags here. We're going to take out our 8 rounds there. It's an 8-round mag. Now they do say that you can use the 225, the SIG 225 P6 mags from Pro Mag, and what you have to do is you have to grind out the mag lock a little bit, the hole. You have to grind that hole out a little bit, have to deburr a little bit on the top there, and you may have to shave off the little plastic foot that's on there to get it to, you know, line up at the bottom here. But they say that those mags will fit this. Now I haven't tried it yet. When I do get one in, we'll do another video to show you how we get that to fit. Okay, to see if that actually works for us. Okay. Now most people don't clean the mags, but if you're buying the surplus guns, and you're dealing with these older mags and stuff. Now I've already done this one, but I want to show you how you do it there. Just like on most of your standard mags, you've got a little button here. And what I do is I just take a little screwdriver, you can use a punch or whatever, and you push that in as you slide this piece forward. And you can hear it click a little bit and it moved forward. And then what I do is I put my thumb over the back to keep that spring from shooting out. And you pull this piece forward. Okay? And you got your little retaining clip there. Got your spring. And you got your follower. Now the follower, this thing sticks a little bit, so you'd have to push that back out of there. But I did notice, what I do is I'll take this all out. Let me there we go. We got our follower there. And what I did was I'll run a rag down through there, clean that out good. You wipe off all your parts there. And what I'll do is I'll lightly lube those a little bit before I put them back in, clean off your spring good. Now, I did notice with this guy, there is a particular way that this spring goes in. Okay? I did have it in backwards once there, and what it does is it will not allow you to get the 8th shell in there. It'll stick and will not let you push that shell all the way back. Okay. So once you get everything clean and wiped down good, your follower is going to go in like that. Then get that guy in there. We'll go ahead and push him up in there. Okay. So now you got your follower all the way up here, and then you can put your spring in. And So what I do is I'll take this cover plate with your little button up, right, because that's what's going to catch on your plate. I'll compress the spring and I'll use my thumb to hold it as you put the plate back over there, and then that just snaps back on. Okay. So now to check to see if our spring is in there the right way, we're going to reload our mag and see if we can get all 8 shots in there. Now on most of them, your Glocks and Smith & Wesson mags and things like this, I've never really had that problem. This is the first one that I've actually noticed where you could actually get the spring. Now see, it did allow me to push it back, all the way back. So that means that I did get my spring in there the correct way. Okay. So now that we've got our magazine cleaned off, and like I said, this magazine cleaning thing, when you get them the first time, and then maybe once a year or something, depending upon how often you shoot it, you don't really have to clean these that often. Okay. But for these surplus guns, I do recommend, like if it's going to be stored for a while, you do want to put a little bit of a little more lubricant than what you would normally do if you're just going to store it till your next shoot, which is mostly what I do. And this rim oil, it does have some silicone protection in there. If you get the ones that says with a Teflon lubricant, okay. What that means is that once you put that on there, it'll go on wet. But even if when the oil part dries, there's still that Teflon lubricant in there. So even though it looks dry, it's still providing a lubrication on there. Okay. So this is our Star BM. It's got our mag release button right there. Got our slide lock, slide release right there. It's got a manual safety, and my safety not engaging here. Oh, the mag is out. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay, so we got our manual safety here, and I did notice when I removed the handles to help clean up the frame a little bit and stuff, and you have remove that mag safety, you do have to watch, because you notice the handle actually stops that release. If you don't have the handles on, you push that down, there is a little spring and plunger under there that you can release that will pop out of there if you're not careful. So when you don't have the handles on there, you do want to be careful of that safety there. Okay. And these have got the it's a dovetail sight on the rear, it's a fixed sight on the front. I did check it, and with my bouncing a little bit like that, once I got in and held it a little firmer in place there, did a little better grip on it, things like that, it did tighten up the grouping a little bit. So this is a relatively it's a pretty accurate little gun. Like I said, it depends upon the shooter. I am by no means a sharpshooter, and but for around $200, what these guys are coming in for, they're actually really good little guns, really good little shooting guns. It's in what they consider a 1911 style there. It's got the single stack grip. It's got the single serrations there on the... I think it does have a pretty beefy extractor there. Got a pretty long extractor. It's easy to take down. It's easy to clean. Shoots well. I mean, like I said, for these import guns, and the thing about these imports is once they come into the country, once they start drying up, these things are going to start going up in price. An example, when I first bought a Mosin Nagant back years ago, when they were first started coming in, they were like $69. Now they're, you know, between $300 and $400 for the things. Hey guys, sorry about that there. I sat there and I gabbed too long and I overrun our memory card there. Want to finish up here. This is our, we're talking about our Spanish made here, our surplus import. This is our Star BM 9mm. It's what they consider in a 1911 style type gun. Does have a 8-round single stack mag. It's got your external safety, your slide grip, your mag release. It is a hammered gun. Like I said, for these import guns for around $200, they're just awesome little guns. This guy was made in '77. It's 42 years old, and I mean it's everything's tight on it. It shoots perfect, you know. And you know, for a nice little piece of history, these guys were made for the Spanish police and the military, and just like the Zastavas, the Tokarevs, that were made for the Yugoslavian police and military. It's an all steel frame, steel slide barrel. It's a little over 2 pounds there, but I mean, just an excellent shooting little gun there. And for the money, you just can't go wrong with these guys. And there we have it, our Star BM. Alright guys, I'm shooting for fun. Thanks for watching.